But wow. Menu of opportunities. All right, so let's take a deep breath. Let's take one more. And bringing my attention right here, right now. As I breathe into this moment, I recognize that there is only one power, one infinite intelligence, one source, one divine presence that moves and breathes through all of creation. That presence, that source, that intelligence is my source and presence and intelligence. And I know it as each and every person here. I know that beautiful creative energy moves through all of us, expressing itself in the most beautiful, individualized way. And I know that is what we bring here tonight, that intelligence that we get to share together as we study this material and as we expand our minds and our hearts with this great work from Dr. Ernest Holmes, and also the special treat tonight, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
We like the sound of that name. So we are grateful. I am grateful in advance for everything that transpires here. And I know that we are all connected and experiencing this in the highest way. So I just get out of the way how it unfolds, just knowing that it's already unfolding perfectly. As I give gratitude for it all, as I release my word, as I let it go, as we affirm together. And so it is. That was funny. Okay, little bit goes, ooh, ooh.
Oh, as I live and breathe, it's Joe Dispenza.
Anyway.
Dr. D.
Dr. Joe, he's the new Tony Robbins. Oh, I think so. Okay, so where are we? Oh, you know what? I didn't get the clicker. That wasn't very good.
Well, let's discuss that wonderful, if you can change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. 100. You guys find that happening in your life? Yeah.
Yep. Sorry about that. I had it all set up.
You did. There we go.
Okay. We already did the opening treatment. So we're just going to check in with any questions from last time, and then we'll move on to this, but we'll do this first. So anything come up for you? Anything you want to clarify? Anything interesting? Any demonstrations? Why you're all staring at me like, okay. All right.
And DJ, welcome back. You had a very busy Wednesday last week, so welcome back. I'm glad you're here.
Within probably less than 5 minutes, when I knew that I needed a computer, one was offered to me over the internet, just in a conversation that I put out that I needed a computer, and somebody had one. And the next day, I went over to where it was stored and was met by a man who stored it for this young woman, but he was an angel. He stood there in front of me, stared into my eyes with the most gentle, deep stare, looked right into my soul. I could feel it. Felt like wings came around me and held me. And he handed me the computer, just like that.
Wow.
And
there you go.
I had been thinking, wow, I need a computer. It would really make life easier. And I'm tired of picking my little finger on my iPhone.
So why do you think that happened?
I believe that I'm more in touch with or aligned with the source. And it's become more fun. It's not hard work. And I wasn't pushing or anything. I just thought, oh, that would be good.
There you go.
But this particular chapter, touching in with the divine source, the God of everything, just is like, well, that's where it is. It's just so obvious. And that's where you have to stand in and call forth and embody the words and expect it to be right there in front of you. That's what I got from that chapter.
Expectancy.
That's great. Expectancy.
Well, I don't really have any questions, but I have something to share. That's okay? Yeah. So I was really moved by especially chapter 3, where it really went into how God is there, and you just have to get on the frequency of that vibration, and you just, ignore the conditions, whatever. But for me, I had this, so it really got into me, my system, my body. And so normally every day I check in with myself. I do like a meditation. I do grounding, ground. I run energy and everything. So today I say, well, okay, I'm going to just, really, like I laid down on the floor, and I've been doing stretching while I've been doing it. So I laid down and I just said, okay, I'm going to connect to God. And it's like I just allowed the peace of God to be in, like just to let it arise. And all the other things, all the other wonderful peace, acceptance, love, but it's mainly peace, I think, because there's a stillness about it. So I was like, wow, I really felt like my brain was separate from my body. And then today I've been taking vocal lessons with this woman in Washington State for the past 6 months. And I barely sing during it, but she's basically teaching me how to hold my body, how to relax, a lot of things like mechanical things with, breathing and all this stuff. And it's finally starting to come together. And as I was talking to her, I was saying, I don't really understand why this hasn't been an intellectual exercise for me, this class. It's been, I just knew I had to do it. It's kind of like the same way I knew how to move here, but it didn't make any logical sense. So I just did it because I knew it was going to be good. And then I realized, oh my God, this was for my body. Because it's like my brain, I can't really explain what happens, but my body knows exactly. My body's getting fed by what she's teaching me and how to be with the sound and the breath and the music and everything. It was just such a huge revelation. It was like, oh, my body is much more intelligent than my brain. And that what this work does is it actually feeds your soul in your body. And so that your mind is not your brain, okay? The mind is the body. It's the feeling. It's part of the brain, but so we're learning how to train our minds and to feed our minds through connecting with Source in a more aware, conscious way. So I just feel it viscerally. So I'm really excited.
That's great.
It's interesting how things can come to you in an unexpected way. What kind of method does she use? No, but does it have a name?
No, she's
okay.
a conglomeration of things that she's learned.
Okay, that's great.
At some point I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, it reminded me of, I watched a section from this guy named Elijah, who's Science of Mind minister. I really don't know everybody acted like I should know, so they sent me the 20-minute talk that he did. And his big thing, he's a young man, his big thing is sacred sexuality, and he believes that we don't talk enough about it, and I would absolutely agree with him that we don't tune into the body, which is why I'm speaking of this. And he was talking about how when Science of Mind started, it was we became all in our head, the intellectual part of it. And then we moved down, and then everybody was all in their head. And it was like, oh yeah, we're up in the, and I agree with that immensely, that it was all kind of ethereal, and everybody was kind of theorizing it and feeling it. But then we moved down into the heart, because our evolution for everyone started moving into the heart. Then he said, then we all stopped there. We're all like hooked onto the heart part of ourselves, which is great because it's all working one thing. But then he said, then now we're learning to take it all in our heart and our love and to ground it. And I have always thought that, I mean, Napoleon Hill, all of them have been talking about how until we really, sexual transmutation, until we take that energy that people think of as sex, which is not, it's sexual energy. And so I love that feeling of that we're taking it, we're bringing it down like our seed, right? The seed and the soil and the manifestation. So we're bringing it down. But people, we get stuck, just like in chakras and the center energy, we get stuck in certain areas. And even Dr. D, hey, he's talking about how we need to really go in and ground that part of us so that we can do our work here.
I think it was Anita Marjoni, too, that said that. She said people get stuck up here and they're not grounded to the earth plane.
Because
that you have to really make the choice to be grounded to the earth plane.
And to be in your body. That's what she said. You have to choose to be here. There's a choice to be here. And that's to live inside this body. But we've done it the other way, too. We think that's all we are is the body. And then we go into terror when we go to medical field and people are telling us what our bodies are doing. So I see the perfect balance that is now in evolution coming to... yeah.
So we're just checking in, Desiree. Hi, welcome. Yeah, we're just checking in before we go to our salient points. So, and does anybody else have something from the week? Some discovery or something they want to share?
So let's
go. To do with the work? Nope.
All right. Let's go to salient.
So let's go to the salient points. Who has a salient point to share? Peggy looks like she's ready.
So for those of you who maybe forgot or not, we're just taking a salient point out of the chapters, and instead of us doing them all, we're having you take a look at the salient point. And what did it mean to you, Peggy?
So the point that I pulled out is that we realize that peace...
What page is on so we can all follow?
I have 31. I have a different book, though. Chapter 3, 31. I have an older book.
It's okay. We don't need to follow it, do we?
So if we realize that peace is at the center of our being, no matter how much confusion we may have been experiencing, then the peace which never departed will become apparent. This peace does not really reassert itself because it never ceased asserting itself. It was always there, and we're merely looking at it in a confused manner. I've had a very confusing week. And I'm not going to go into too much, but there's been a huge change in my living arrangement. And a person that was with me is no longer with me. And there's just been a kind of a purging that's going on, a lot of confusion, because there was a secret that this person had that I wasn't aware of. And it's just sort of affected me in a way that I thought, gee, there was a lot of confusion around it. And I've come to, and I'm doing the processing with it. I'm still not there. But I came to realize that I have made some intentions a while back about how things weren't feeling right and it was time to move on and let go. And this person had made a decision to leave. And I felt very affected by that. I almost felt kind of guilty about that. I talked to the reverends about that. And I realized that the confusion isn't about me. It's this person made a choice. They made a decision, and it wasn't about what my intention was, or I didn't start a series of events to cause a situation to happen, but it was releasing them, and they went in, and she went in happiness and peace. And I'm still processing. It's kind of huge.
This idea that peace is already there, and that you can meditate on that and know and allow that peace to rise within you. That's great. And you know, we're not powerful enough to affect another person, to affect another person physically in any kind of way. I mean, we really aren't. I mean, that'll happen sometimes, right? I mean, everybody has their own responsibility. I guess that's what I want to say. So.
But we're all players in this thing, and so, yes, or practitioner sessions wouldn't be worth anything if we were not an influence. But we cannot. The final door that has to be open for everyone is you. You must take. It reminds me of a movie we saw about when he about mediums and stuff, and she would walk the people. Oh, yeah. She would walk people after they passed to the door, and then the person would be like, you know, the spirit would be like, no, you come with me. This is really, you know. I said, no, this is this is you now. I've walked you to the door. Now you have to go. Even in death, even in murder, even in all of that, you know, what agreements, the 4 agreements, you know, he's talking about even in that, even in death, there's still a choice there. It's not personal. It's not that we can't voodoo people as they were, you know. So, contrary to some popular belief.
Well, unless you allow them to.
Yeah, you can open up to.
There's 2 things I want to read that are connected.
Do you have the page?
Okay, page 24, and then the end of 25. No matter how impossible any situation may seem or how difficult of solution any problem may appear, the practitioner holds to the idea that spirit has no problems. There are no impossible situations. Sitting in quiet contemplation of spirit, he fills himself with its atmosphere. And then if we look at a confused situation until confusion disappears from our consciousness, peace alone will remain. I mean, that's pretty basic.
Yeah, it's that thing. Like this morning, I was like, had a kind of a mood for a moment, and I was like, okay, I had done my meditation. I was still in the mood, and I was like, no, I am going to sit here until the mood passes, until I'm in alignment, and I'm not getting up until I do. And then you just open up, and it has to happen. It has to. Especially if you say, I'm going to sit here until it does, right? Instead of just getting up and going around, you know, going about your business, yeah.
I've had this experience over the past few weeks that, you know, if something is bothering me and I feel fearful or whatever, my usual stance is just to keep trying to resist and push away and everything. And I realize that whatever you resist persists. So what I've been doing is just going into it. Just, okay, I'm afraid. Yeah. So I just let myself just go right into it. And within like a couple of, you know, a matter of seconds, it's almost like a wisp of smoke. It's gone. But yet it seems so solid when I was pushing against it.
Because you were making it real.
I know.
By resisting it, you're making it really real, you know?
Wow. There's no power. This is huge. I'm telling you, this is really big stuff.
I'm excited for you.
Salient points. Yeah, it has no power if you don't give it the power. And I agree that resistance is what causes all the turmoil in us, because it's what Peggy was saying in her point. We're already peace. So we've got it covered up with confusion, which is so much better than I have to go get peace. I'm going to go out and search for peace so that I can be peaceful. And so how nice to know that all I need to do is uncover the confusion that I have put on top of this, and then been able to, you know, then release the peace that I already am.
Leads into the salient point that I had. Right. Well, there was 2.
Do you have a page?
Yep. Top of page 18 to the end of that paragraph on page 18. This is not a process of adjusting reality to the condition that needs to be changed, but of adjusting the condition that needs to be changed to a reality which already exists. Yeah, exactly. And then, well, I'm sorry to take up one more, if I could.
Go ahead.
Okay, on the next page, on page 19, in the second to the last paragraph, a couple sentences in, he, referring to the practitioner, is not fooling himself at all. Quite the reverse. He's becoming more intensely sane, and the actual manifestation arising from his changed attitude is a complete proof of the rightness of his position. I feel like this is like what I've been working so far hard to get to, right? Is like, I know I need to get to that belief that everything that I know is what's truth, and it's not about what I see or what's in form. It's believing in the truth so much that the truth becomes reality.
Right, because what you see in form can change. That's the whole thing. The world of effects.
Wow.
It's just that. It's fluid. It's the world of effects.
But I will.
Oh, I thought you went like this.
Nah, I was like, yeah, go Jamie, yeah, go Jamie. How? Yeah, that means right. Amen, hallelujah. I mean, no, but
Page.
page 72.
Oh, you're in the other chapter.
Do-
Oh, that's right. Go for it.
I know.
Activity of right ideas.
Yes, indeed. The second full chapter. I really felt this when I read it right away. We are using this law at all times, whether or not we are aware of the fact, and it is always responding. When we look at our environment and see many things that are not desirable, instead of thinking of them as conditions which fate has imposed upon us, we should recognize them as the orderly procession of the law of cause and effect, moving in logical sequence to definite form. And I just found this so prevalent for myself because, I'm just beginning as an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, it's the process of getting myself out there, the process of things going very well at some times, but also being very slow at times as well. The process of just trusting and knowing that this idea, this movement that I am manifesting is all going to come out easily and effortlessly and beautifully, but it's going to come out over time. And it may not be here now, but it's right here.
Right.
And therefore, it will be right here in my hands and where I can actually see it.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes there is a process, and there's nothing wrong with the process. As long as you, like, when we were founding the center, people would ask us all the time, well, where's your center? Where's your center? And we'd go, it's right here. It's right here.
It is right.
And they'd go, what? You don't have any building or anything? No, it's actually, no, we don't. It's right here. It's right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The science of mind, that the picture, right? Mm-hmm. The picture is is a process, with the seed and the spirit and the soul. That's the process of it all. So now I feel like I'm in the soul part. You know what I mean?
You're in the fertilizer and the cultivation.
Cultivation.
And I'm into fertilizer tonight, if anybody has noticed. Yeah, I have no idea what it means, but I'm there. Salient points. I saw a yellow or
Oh, yeah, and question marks, all kinds of things here. On page 21, the divine presence has never been affected by anything external to itself or different from itself. Whatever process of reasoning one goes through to convince himself of the divine perfection is of no particular importance. It is the realization of this perfection that heals. I really, sometimes, little Miss A student here, I get all wrapped up in, do I know this? Could I pass the test? Could I whatever? And, you could do the 5 steps, and I get all wrapped up in it. But this was so important to me to say that whatever process it takes for me to reason through whatever I'm going through is perfect. Absolutely.
That's great.
That's great. Chiha?
I'm confused and I'm really clear.
Okay, well, that's good. I don't know if you could be both at the same time, but...
No, because there is confusion, which just is a lack of faith. And then there is just knowing that there's source. And knowing that takes away all confusion, but there's the process of climbing up the steps.
It's just that you're clear about the confusion.
Yes, yeah.
It's just a good thing.
Yeah.
It means you're aware.
What does it say? What did I write? Confusion is but a challenge to the feelings of confidence and trust. And the clarity of thought and feeling is just know God. Just That's what I got. On page 77, the last paragraph in the sentence, if we wish more, for more, we must increase our expectancy. We must identify ourselves with more. And I sat with that for a long time. Treat for increased consciousness of substance, of activity, of happiness, or whatever the need is. I know there is unlimited source and supply for all of my needs to be met. And that's how I was bringing in the computer story, where I really didn't push it. I really didn't force it. I just said, I need a computer. And I wrote it in a text. And one person who read the text, I mean, it just went out there to a small group of people. And one person, within 2 minutes, I had a computer. Just like that. It was, bing, it hit the right spot. And I just went, oh, wow, made a big scream. And it's what I wrote here is the whole treatment is built around the limitlessness of God nature, of the God nature, the ever-increasing flow of good to myself or to the person that I wish to help. The purpose is to realize something is happening, not to make something happen, but it already is. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Chia, about this idea of ping and it just happened. And so it is always going to go back to consciousness. And unless we get confused at why it's not happening quick enough, or the processor, it's here and it's not that. It happened because you didn't say, I've got to have a computer, I've got to have a computer. It's just, I require a computer right now. And that's that in that kind of relaxed atmosphere, I require a computer right now. And how it shows up is really none of my business, or as Ernest Holmes would say, if the answer to how that computer is going to get to you is in the deepest part of Africa, it will be delivered to you. If the only person that can fulfill that on this plane is in the deepest part of Africa, you will meet up and it will be. It's the quickest, easiest way, because that's with this power. And we, I believe, will come to understand that it's our natural way of being. And there will be a day that we will manifest instantly. Not because we're going to be poofing things like our movies tell us, but because we have to be, because we've become it. When we're peace, then everything we touch will be peace. Everything we come across will be peace and love.
And this quote on page 73, when divine intelligence makes a demand on itself, it answers the demand in the terms of the demand made.
Right.
I rest on that, because every time if I've ever been in a place where I've needed something, like it needs to show up, I go, well, the universe has to meet my demand. If I make the demand in a way that I'm accepting what that is, that I'm needing at that moment, or requiring at that moment. I don't like the word needing. So the universe will meet the demand, and the terms of demand is made. What was that?
That was another computer coming in.
Okay. All right.
Ping.
It's powerful stuff. And
absolutely. Yeah. And you know, the thing of it is, I will go back to it all the time. I know that we're used to dramatic events. Bring in the computer, sound the bugles, but sometimes it's just that I require a computer and it's there. And so it's very hard sometimes, because we're used to go out and work for it. We were talking about this in the men's group, which I can say because it's my share. But I used to say that my mom used to say, it doesn't matter, as long as you get a paycheck, it doesn't matter, all this other stuff, as long as you're secure, as long as somebody's handing you a paycheck, it doesn't matter if it's for $5, but as long as you have a paycheck, because there's a security, so there's a consciousness around that. And we were talking about, but that's not the way life is. That's not the way. We're not meant to struggle and stuff. Yeah, we go through stuff, and it's beautiful. But Rita was saying that we just talked about it yesterday. Our problem is that we call it good and bad. We think because we have a moment of indigestion of thoughts that there's something wrong. Hence what you were talking about. You wake up in the morning, you go, oh, or the mood. I'm in a mood. Well, that's okay. As Eric Butterworth tells from Unit.
Question is, do I want to stay in the mood?
Eric Butterworth acts like he said, people come up to you and they'll say, I'm in a bad mood. As though a mood came over the atmosphere and then landed on you, and then you don't have any choice in it. But you do. Oh, a mood has and then takes all the sting out of it and all the judgment out of it. Wow, I'm in a kind of a funky mood right now. What do I need to know? Like last week with Melissa, she told the story of her doctor, and she was going on, and I said, well, let's just cut to the chase. I'm pissed off because I've been doing this for a year, and it hasn't done what I wanted it to do. Boom, takes away all of that and allows the real deal to stand here, and then you go, okay, let's move through that. Move through it with love.
Now I lost my thought. Oh, what were you talking about before you said that?
We were talking about making demands on the universe and bigger buckets, and I wrote bigger buckets here.
Flew out of my head.
You have to have a bucket the size of whatever it is.
Brought him down when you.
I know, but then I was like, okay, wait a minute, let me just think.
We'll come back to you. It's all right.
It's okay. They'll be there. Pop right back in.
I just realized something else that happened, which was I caught a feeling which was hooked up to a program that had something to do with how smart I am or how stupid I am. And I didn't know how to work the computer. I didn't know what to do. And when I felt it drop me down, like I fell down, and I felt the whole, like I fell down to the ground, and I went, oh, I don't want to go there. And I'm so hooked on these hookups. I know they work, so this thing we do with our hands like that. I do that all the time because it brings me right to my heart. It's magic. It's been proven. It's scientific. So it's my divine point. It's my divine hookup. So I believe in it. So it works. And so when I caught it, I didn't even need to go into all the bad stuff that it might be saying about me. I just said no. And I held my hands against my heart until I connected with the heart. That caused a fire inside of me that burned off whatever those thoughts were. They were gone. They didn't have a chance to even root in. And I caught on fire in a good way. And then I felt the appreciation of my higher self just pour some love on me. It was really beautiful.
That is beautiful. Good work, girl.
It was really beautiful.
Good. Okay, go ahead, and then I want to hear from these three
did
girls.
for her,
I
you
haven't
popped
heard
her.
anything.
Ping.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that, this is a complete 180-degree change from, like, the way I was raised. Because you're always looking, from the day you're born, you're looking outside for validation and, oh, am I doing it right? Or, how do I supposed to act? And, I mean, no, we're actually, this is looking in and finding God within, as opposed to, and it really doesn't matter what's going on outside. It's like actually ignoring what's going on outside, because once you're connected to God, then you're just on that wavelength and everything just opens up. You don't have to look at the conditions outside.
No, that's step one. That's
coming.
If
that's coming from.
Yeah, you have to come from it, right? So otherwise, everything else, you're just going out there trying to fix things. And you don't have any idea who you are and the power that you have, right?
And we're going to talk about it a little bit later with bypassing, but just on this idea of ignoring the things that are occurring. We're not ignoring like they don't exist. It seems like as religious scientists, I'm constantly having to say that, because people want it, that's their arguing for the limitations that say, oh, you're ignoring it. No. But once I understand it, once I look at it, oh my God, my leg's broken or whatever, I don't really care, whatever it is. Any more focus on that is now no longer news. We've got the news. Checkbook's empty. There's the news. You know, so-and-so's mad at me. My marriage is in trouble. Condition. Gotcha. Now, any more of that, oh yeah, and then my condition is now just blowing it up into an incredible, you know, once you know that you're sick, as we had in that movie with the Buddha, he focused on, he said, I'm sick, and what he was doing is I'm dying, and he thought, concept, grasshopper. What if you thought about every breath that you're taking that is now life? All through the pain, all through the stuff. All through the pain of the emotional pain. But I'm alive. I'm alive. What do I want to feel? I want to feel alive. I want to focus on alive. There's got to be, even in the point of being sick, there's one part of you that's not in pain somewhere in the physical body. My hand, oh, wow. So I think that it's never about ignoring it. I mean, it is about ignoring it, but it's about turning away from it long enough to heal. Turning away long enough that we can heal, so it is not our weight that's pulling us down. And yes, there's fear, but we got to turn away from fear for just a moment. And practitioners, we don't have a choice. I have no choice but to turn away from all of it and look at you for who you are. I have no choice in that. And if I don't, then I'm not doing what I am here to do as a practitioner. I might do it sometime in my life, and that's what people say, well, how can you remain in consciousness and demand the whole time? You can't. I get it, but I know how to get back. I know how to, as Chia was saying, long enough to go, no, you're not taking root. No, you're not going to take root, because if you take root and start growing, I'm in a heap of trouble, because everything's going to start spiraling down. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Or putting
like
your
you
focus
did this
somewhere
morning.
else, right?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about a situation that happened to me, just about that same sort of thing. I was having this relationship with someone, and it was really hard for me. I was just like, you know, it's like, oh, things have got to change, you know. And I was just thinking, oh, what am I going to do? And so I talked to like two people about it, and I thought, I don't want to talk to anybody else about this. You know, I'm over it already. I mean, you know, like, and I know the only thing that's going to fix this situation is me being more loving, you know, and not that, you know, I had done anything unloving toward this person, but they were looking at me in a very unloving way, which to me made no sense whatsoever, and called me a taker, which, you know, like
you,
me, you know, 5 years and women who love too much support groups, you know, and I was like, whoa, this is so weird. So but then, I just, you know, went about my business, and then the next time I saw this person, it was as if somebody had written a script and said, DJ, if you could have this person say anything in the world that you would want them to say, you know, what would it be? In fact, some things just even surprised me, you know, like were even better than I had even thought of, ideas. And, it's just like he just totally just shared these things to me. And I was like, whoa, that, it was just a complete, turn in the whole relationship and the, my feelings, just all kinds of stuff. So it was really good for me to just say, all right, when this kind of thing happens, even to talk to one person about it, well, maybe one, but, definitely not two. And when, it's like, for sure, I really got, what do I need to know in this? And what I needed to know was that no matter what was going on right now in this phase, I just needed to really hold a loving place. So, anyways.
That's great, because what happens when you repeat the story over and over? You start to get grounded in the story. You start to get grounded in the emotion. You start to create the same thing again. You start to loop, and it just creates more of the same. And
Guilty, Your Honor.
Even with not that person, it's going to create it with somebody else because you're still in that story of that emotion, addicted to that emotion. Right. Yeah.
Or more than two or more are gathered. There's just a bunch of opinions, So, but where two or more are gathered in love. Well, I have my own Bible, by the way. Where two or more are gathered, there's lots of opinions. Our Lord Jesus Christ said that. But it's so true, right? Because you start taking the polls, the pollsters, as Renee Brown says, you start getting all the polls, and you're so much more confused than when you started. So what the bottom line, DJ, is really cool, is you just go back to what the only thing that's ever is going to change anything, and that's love. Not love because you're going to change, but love because that's who I am. And I am not going to, I'm only going to reflect that in my life, and how beautiful that was able to appear. What a demonstration, right?
Yeah, it has to.
All right.
You've made the decision. Did you have your book? Did you want to say something? No? Anybody else?
She just looked in that studious moment.
I know, she's holding it with her finger on the thing.
Okay,
Jamie,
what do we
have
got
anything
going
to say?
here?
No? Everybody? Ron, back there, do you have anything to say? Any salient point? No? All right. Okay.
All right.
You're all going to get the most out of it when you do the work.
Techniques for practice. Remember we talked about it last week. Where's the techniques? It always makes me laugh when everyone goes, but I need tools, I need tools, I need tools. We have more tools than you ever can imagine, not just tonight, but always. So techniques for practice. The physician or surgeon relies on nature to do the healing, while he makes such mechanical adjustments as are necessary. That's what our physicians do. Then the psychologist resolves mental and emotional conflicts. What? Emotional conflicts. The mind may heal itself. Thank you. That the mind may heal itself.
You're typing.
That was my typing.
Look at me.
Well, she just copy and pasted me.
I will own up to my mistake.
The metaphysician also removes obstructions and adjusts the condition to a greater reality. The reason I chose that is because we deal in these three categories. We deal with it with the psychology, the mental, the emotional, and then the physical. And they can all work together. As Ernest Holmes says, we'll all be dancing together someday. But to remember that at the core of it all is the source of supply. That's the only place that will ever. Doesn't matter if you sit with a psychiatrist, you sit with a practitioner, metaphysician, or you sit with your doctor. There's only so much. I mean, who was it? It was Chia last week. You have a mini stroke, a TIA, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I got that one down. Oh, no, you don't have that. Oh, now it says something different. So we're looking, and that will end up confusion. And then even if you look at just the metaphysician, also removes obstructions and adjusts the condition to a greater reality. That's the greater than we've been taught. Greater than we have ever even imagined, greater that we get to use it. That's the teaching of the metaphysician, to lead the self back to the self, to say, not, screw those doctors or that quack who calls himself a psychic. We're not here to do that. We're here to say, did you know that if this surgeon left, this medical professional left you, and this psychologist that you're going to left you, did you know that you're still whole? That's what the metaphysician would tell you. Oh, shit, that's impossible, because no, it's not. Because you came here whole and complete, and when we transcend from this experience, we will still be whole and complete. That's. But I do have one that Chia picked coming up too, so it's great because we picked these, two from each chapter. The basis for spiritual mind treatment is a conviction that man's life is pure spirit. Bottom line. The practitioner recognizes this spirit at the center of his patient's being. This presence is more than a manifestation of God. It is God in this person. Life at the center of the patient's being is as perfect as it ever can become. That is it wasn't even in part of that quote, it was on further down. This to me is life at the center of the patient's being is as perfect as it ever can become, which tells us the story. The peace is always there. The love is always there. The reflection is always there. It can never become anything more. We can just take more of the more. Nothing. We're not going to change anything because we already are.
Well, what really strikes me is that the practitioner recognizes the spirit at the center of his patient's being, but he can't do it. And we got to recognize it at the center of our being, right? Because then it's easy to,
Right. Well, that's why when you're treating for somebody else, the first thing you do is say it about yourself, because you're speaking your word from that place of knowing it about yourself. So if it's true about you, then it has to be true about that person.
Exactly.
But to always remember, you're doing it in your own mind. You're not putting the thought in the other person's mind. You're seeing them, knowing them, recognizing them, that presence is at the center of their being, just as it is at yours.
For me, I guess the way I would approach it is to, feel it. The way I would approach is I would actually feel that spirit in me and radiating outward and encompassing the patient, whatever. And because my spirit's meeting, it's all God. So spirit meeting spirit. And then because it's true for me, then it's really true for them. It's just as true for them.
And it is our obligation, I believe, to see that it's very much Jesus' modality of that I see you. I said this to a woman the other day. I said, I see you. And I really knew somewhere in my intuitive nature that she needed to be seen. And I said, I see you. And then she just looked at me kind of like, a little bit kind of, because I'd never met her before. And she was just like in the store. No, I'm just kidding. I said, I see you. And I said that, and she said, shocked, I'm just a reflection of you. I'm just a mirror. We're just mirrors. And I went, exactly. I see you because you had a moment. She goes, I had a moment where I couldn't see myself. So I can see you. And we have that great thing to radiate out to go, oh, you're in the state of confusion. You're spinning, right? And she's like, yeah. And then she went, I'm in pain right now. And I said, well, beyond the pain, I see who you are. And then she said, oh, my God, yeah, the mirror, right?
Well, I was just going to say that what I really got from those two chapters is that you have to have this conviction. If you don't have this conviction, you have no business entering into practitioner work. You have no business you need to first get this conviction of belief. And that is what drives the power that you can and so that's where I'm at. I got to get to that conviction.
Well,
I got to raise.
That's what the studies are about.
Yeah.
Because that's why you spend 2 years doing it.
Yeah, that's what I got from the reading.
And
no wonder, because it seems like you need a lot to get to where.
By the time you're there, you've done 4 or 5 years of study, know. So, these people some people in this room have already done over close to 2 years, I think, already, right? Or maybe you would have had to, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how. It took me even longer because I kept taking things over and over. But when you finally get there, you do get there.
So let's do this conviction thing for a moment. So yes, you're absolutely right. But we're also here to tell you that you've already arrived. And so that is what we have to keep remembering. Because if we don't believe that, then we're going to always need something more to do it. I know, looking at you right here, Jamie, that you have already arrived in that. And all it is in the courtroom of the mind trying to convince itself right now of its greatness. So the conviction comes from no matter what happens, you go back to principle. You go back to love. You go back to whatever that is. So, yes, that's how we build it and also build it. So I've had a few times these last couple of weeks that I went off my principle for a moment. But guess what? Hopped right back on. Or as our dear friend, he says, you know, and what happens in practitioner work is that it's great because then we start realizing that we are going to go, that we can get back on. Like my friend Doug always says, Reverend Doug, he says, you know, he knows very well that he's about to tell you something that is so off principle because he's pissed off or something, you know? And he goes, excuse me, I'm going to go off principle for a moment. I'll be right back. Because he knows what he's doing, right? Yeah, you're right. Conviction is everything. But in it, you recognize that first one, Chia? The practitioner is not trying to make something happen, but rather to realize that something is happening. We are always happening. We are always happening. And it always happening in spirit. Whether or not it looks different or it doesn't matter, right? The law being absolute can produce what we call a big thing as easily as what we term a small thing. Big one here, folks. Mind is a mirror, automatically reflecting our images of thought, be they good, or I wrote it, you copy and pasted it. But if it be they good or indifferent, large, medium, or small, as we measure things. No, Lord. But anyway, this is the best part, because there is no big or small in the mind that maketh all, Emerson. And so, but it feels that way. It feels that way. If you get a big diagnosis compared to, you know, our mentor used to always go, there's nothing different than a hangnail and cancer. And then when he got cancer, he's like, all right, like I said, there's nothing bigger than, you know, and we're like, be careful what you say in the whole group here. No different than a hangnail. I never get a cold. And beautiful man, he led us through that in flying colors because he went back to principle. He says, whatever you think is happening right here, I know who I am. Right? So, what? Because he knows who he is. Because even though cancer, he's up in front of a congregation, and cancer is making itself known here because he's getting chemo, he's doing whatever. His daughter dies. And he's 1 week later, Dr. Mellon's standing up in front of everybody going, I just want to make sure that everyone's clear about one thing. This is horrible, but I'm still on principle. Because I know that wherever it is, that God has not left me. Even if I scream, shout, throw up, chemo, fall on the ground, puking, it doesn't matter. Because when I get through it, this is what's going to get me through it. Incredible. You know, you were with him. You know, so my point is, not that you, and I don't really like those testing grounds, because I think where we're all at, and then we'll close, because Rita's giving me that look. No, close the break. Oh, no, we're not close. Oh, we're going to well, she's giving me some kind of a look. And now I'm going into
a certain schedule.
I'm going on to a Melissa right now. Now I forgot what I was going to say. So, head on.
You said that we don't need to learn that way.
Oh, we don't need to learn that way, because I think the new way of learning is saying, oh my God, things are going so great. I am a master manifester. It's like, oh my God, I wanted to drop some weight. It just dropped off. I don't understand. Oh, I do understand. I'm a master manifester. I know that I don't have to do any of that. You know, I take my process that they say it's going to take a year, and I say, no, I don't think so. No, I don't think it is, because it's actually already done in the mind of God. And I just have to live from it. And that's where we're all at. You're in such joy. Let's learn from joy. Oh, my God. Let's not forebode it any longer. Let's live in it. My daughter's going to be, everything's going to unfold perfectly for my daughter in the school and my work. And everywhere I look, there's pleasant surprises. Everywhere I look is somebody's trying to give me a computer. But I have to tell them I only need one. I'm fine. Stop. It's okay. Pass that on. My wallet's filled. My bank account is filled. I never have to be afraid. My source of supply. I never have to be, oh my God, my body, it's filled with health. Oh my God. I understand things when they happen to me. I can sit with them and unconfuse it by being the peace of mind that I am. I can love, and then everything turns out all right for me. Wow. And they'll say, well, how do you do that? Because it's a new way of living. Let's all do it. They go, yeah, but. They said, no, we just get our big butts out of the way. There we go. Sorry, Rita.
Anyway, we watched this the other night. We started watching this series, and we thought that it would be fun to watch this one section of it because it's about making changes and why it's so hard to make changes, and we've been talking about that. And I think Dr. Joe's good because he tells us why we're doing it, what's happening in our actual bodies and brains and stuff when we're trying to make changes. So we're going to watch this, and then we're going to take our break.